Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Kriss Berg. He's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, started in the home services business, and has since expanded into solar, ecom, real estate, and much more. He now runs a portfolio of online businesses, takes the profit from those, and invests into car washes that give him cash flow and radically reduces his taxes. So we're going to talk about this kind of strategy before this flywheel. So welcome to the show, Kriss.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about your background, like your path to becoming an entrepreneur here.
Yeah, I had no entrepreneurial instincts growing up. I know a lot of people sort of like to brag about, well, I was wheeling and dealing in elementary school, and that was definitely not me.
Selling candy. You weren't selling candy out of your coat.
No, that
coat
was
pocket.
I did it for like Boy Scouts or something, but I had no inclination to keep doing it. And so I got an engineering degree, went into corporate America, and realized that I just despised the politics and the backbiting and all the ladder climbing that came with that, and just kind of had like a early life crisis at about 27, and quit my job, broke up with my girlfriend, threw everything I had in a U-Haul, and moved across the country back to where I was from, to Denver, Colorado, and moved in with a guy who had just bought he had done corporate America in tech in the Bay Area and discovered he hated that too. And so this is about 2002, 2003, and he bought a lube shop. And eventually he ended up buying a towing company. And so he built this little portfolio of sort of car related businesses, and he looked to be doing really well with it, and it didn't look to be that hard. So I kind of followed his footsteps. I bought a little excavation company, used an SBA loan, put $50,000 down, and it was a tiny company. It only came with like 2 guys and a couple pieces of equipment, but it was all I could afford at the time. And got baptism by fire. I had no inclination on how to run a business, no idea what I was doing, and just got to be frank, I got my ass kicked for a couple of years. But I grew the business basically just by showing up when I told people we were going to show up and doing what we said we were going to do. The service industry is so poorly serviced that it was really easy to grow that business. We went from 180K top line to 2.6 million in 4 years. Went from 2 guys to 25 guys.
Oh, wow.
And
how long ago was that? Like, when did you start that?
That was 2003 to 2007.
Okay.
And it was just an extremely stressful business. It was really difficult to manage. I didn't know how to build a business, so I built this really flat organization. Everybody reported to me. I did all the hiring and the firing and all the admin, and it was just a nightmare. And so sold it in 2007, which just turned out to be really
good timing.
Lucky, because the market just completely fell apart in the next year. And me and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, literally moved off the grid. We moved to the mountains of Colorado in a solar and wind powered home, and really kind of lived the mountain life for the next 13 years. And so my intention there was to start building spec homes, because in 2007, when we moved there, that was still something you could do. But by the end of 2008, there was no way that was going to happen. There was no demand for it. The banks weren't lending on it. And that just completely went away. So I read 4-Hour Work Week at that time, because it was red hot. This is like 2009 by this time. And frankly, just didn't have much other choice of what to do. I was unemployable at that point. I wasn't going to go back and get a job. And living in a ski town, there's not like there was a lot of job opportunity anyway. So bought a website that sold solar panels because I knew about them because I was living in an off-grid home. And same thing, was able to blow that up. And that parlayed my career into the online world where I was able to, there's a ton of leverage available. You can market, you can build something once, an info product, and sell it a million times. And so that really launched my career into the online space.
Okay. Awesome. So then you had success in that, and then you continued to kind of look at some other businesses that ran similar models that you could leverage kind of your knowledge and experience.
I realized that selling solar panels was really difficult because, first of all, the Chinese kept undercutting the prices, and it turned out that shipping solar panels was a nightmare. It's some of these solar panels are as large as like a screen door or something, and UPS and FedEx just don't like shipping that stuff. They break easy, and so got out of the equipment game and started selling the information game, how to live off the grid, how I lived, how you can do it, how to buy solar panels, how to spec a system. That was much easier to sell because you sell little CDs and little books.
Okay.
Those are very easy to ship. So did that, and then turned that into an email newsletter business, turned that into what came from all of this was I had a bunch of health issues. I had digestion, I was overweight and all this stuff. I got really healthy and discovered
that's why you moved off the grid, because you were unhealthy and you wanted to like...
That was part of the reason, yeah.
Go back to nature.
This horribly unhealthy lifestyle and moving to the mountains where, we grew some of our own food and we had to really just get healthy because we had to be self-sufficient. There just wasn't many services out there. So got really healthy, and in a short amount of time realized I had a passion for that. So we started making our own health supplements, and that's parlayed into my main business now is a health supplement company. So about 30, 35 hours a week, I'm actually working on helping people get healthy online with supplements and books and stuff like that. And like you said, take the profits from that and then parlay that into the car wash. So
that's a good business, isn't it? Supplements.
It is a good business. It's competitive, and
it's about the brand, right? Like, aren't the products pretty similar? At least the perception. I mean, obviously, people talk about different levels of quality, which I'm sure is part of it, but a lot of it's like the belief in the brand.
Right? A lot of it is that what it really comes down to is the effectiveness of your products, and so for us, we start with placebo-controlled trials that prove that our ingredients work. So I'm constantly spending time looking at medical journals and figuring out what works, and then we take those ingredients, we combine 3 or 4 of them that work really well, and then we put them into a product. Sometimes it's a capsule, sometimes it's a gummy, and so our number one goal is to make stuff that works. And most supplement companies unfortunately don't do that. They're simply looking for stuff that'll sell well. And so that has to be some, it's got to be some trendy thing. And a lot of times there's no science behind those things that they even work. So we take a little bit of a different approach there.
Okay. And what's that business doing in revenue?
That top line for that will be 17 million this year, 16 on the low side. And then we have an email newsletter business that is sort of symbiotic with that business. We have about 1.5 million email addresses, and we send about, I think it's like 20 million emails a week to that list. It's news and information, health related. Sometimes it's political information. That helps us sell our products as well. Technically a separate business though.
Okay. Do you write all that content? Or do you have a team that helps you with all that?
No, we have writers that do that, and they use a lot of ChatGPT to help them now. We've gotten really efficient with AI. That's really changed our business in the last 6 months. It's very interesting.
Does it reduce your costs? Like, do you need less writers then?
Yeah.
I imagine it helps them with the framework, right? Like, I want to outline on X, Y, and Z, and then they kind of like, that's how I use it personally. I don't. Yeah. Any advice there?
We use it to a lot of times for our stuff. It's distill this story. Some of these stories are complex, right? So we'll tell ChatGPT to take this complex article and distill it down. First of all, I want it to only be 400 words.
Like a medical article or like a research thing.
Yeah, or sometimes it's in a journal. Sometimes it's in a news story, but it's a complex subject. And so we'll tell ChatGPT, distill this down to 300 words and make it so that a third grader can read it. And then it still needs tweaking. You can't just fire that off all the time. It's ChatGPT is still, I kind of call it ChatGPT is kind of a basic bitch.
Yep.
It's not particularly good at writing super interesting stuff.
Yep.
But we can put interesting headlines on it, interesting subject lines on it, and then it really works.
Have you ever asked it to write you a Twitter thread?
No, I haven't. It's funny.
If you want to, I've asked it, but it's like, it'll include all these hashtags, and then like, hashtag business, hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag, franchise. And then it'll be like, there'll be like sunshine emojis. And like, it's like a little, I don't know, like a 12-year-old girl or something wrote this.
It's a basic bitch, right? Like it's
exactly what it is from like, but no one even uses hashtags anymore on Twitter. Like so it's like kind of behind the times. So sometimes I'll just be like, all right, well, give me like 10 ideas of how to answer this question or whatever, or what are the top 10 problems that people think of, or those types of things that are like idea starters. But have it ask it to write you a thread about car washes or something, and you'll just like shake your head at
that'll be funny. Yeah, I could ask it. I think maybe better application was I could take some of my old threads that are popular and tell ChatGPT to rewrite it and see if it makes it more interesting or something. But
don't hold your breath.
Yeah. Twitter for me is just stream of consciousness. It's whatever occurs to me. I don't really have a huge strategy with it. I probably should, but to me, it's just like, oh, I just thought of this, or I just experienced this in my business. I bet somebody else did, and I just, kind of brain dump.
Yep. That's pretty. How many employees you got on the supplement side and newsletter? Like,
there are. Let's see. There's probably about 10 employees. Okay. Between the two.
100% remote, really I'd imagine.
Say what?
Everyone's remote.
Yeah. There's no office or anything. Everybody's remote. They're all over the world. Or tech guys in Pakistan, or customer support teams in the Philippines.
Okay.
So it's a nice.
Man, Tim Ferriss would be proud of you.
Wouldn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did follow his blueprint, and we've been following it for we're in our 12th year with that, or it might be 13 now. So we've been doing it forever. So the remote work thing and the VA, the virtual assistant thing, is something that we've done forever, and we didn't know how to do it any other way, frankly.
So then how'd you get into this like car wash side of it? I imagine, you're making money and looking for how to pay less taxes to the government, right?
Well, actually, it didn't start off that way. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I had really nice profits from these businesses, and I was always looking for some sort of side gig to put the money into. I was shoving it into Apple stock and Amazon stock, and it was just kind of dull, right? It did really well, but I wanted kind of a side project, and I found myself sort of, I would have most Fridays off, and I would snowboard and I would mountain bike and I would do all this stuff, but I also kind of had this business itch that I want to scratch. So I tried Amazon FBA business. I tried crypto trading, options trading, and all this stuff. It was just sort of dull, and it all felt really kind of like vapor money, right? Like when we're generating this cash from websites, well, it hits my bank account, but it just never felt real. And same with the crypto. Is like, is this really money? And so I started following a lot of the guys on real estate Twitter, and they had some killer tax benefits, and they were doing really well. And I did some real estate back in the early 2000s, and I hated the residential real estate, the pain in the ass tenants, toilets, trash, all those cliches were really true. And so these commercial real estate guys kept posting, and I thought, man, that's kind of interesting. So I found a local friend who wanted to partner up, and he was really hot on self-storage. And of course, 3 or 4 years ago in Twitter, like self-storage was everything, right? So we actually jumped into that. We decided, let's buy a self-storage facility, and went locally, and we couldn't find a single person that wanted to sell their self-storage. A couple people literally told me, I will never sell this, so leave me alone. And so we kind of gave up on that, but I had heard about this car wash for sale. I didn't understand the valuation. I didn't understand how it worked, and it was very mystery to me. But 6 months later, going through the self-storage process and learning more from the real estate Twitter guys, I realized like, oh, this is an opportunity here. And so we looked at this car wash. It was not on Google Maps. It didn't exist on the internet at all. And its location was such that it wasn't super visible. It hadn't really been updated. They hadn't raised the price. They hadn't done just sort of the basic kind of blocking and tackling of a business, really. Not just a car wash, but a business.
Self-serve or a drive-through? It's
self-serve, and then one bay has an automatic in it, and it's a touch-free automatic. And I'll explain why that's important here in a little bit. So it was kind of a cool opportunity, and we just decided, what the heck? It was making $65K a year, and it was selling for $650K, which means it's, in real estate terms, that's a 10 cap. It's a 10x multiple. And so we bought it, and in the first 3 months, we were able to blow this business up. We raised the net income by 30% in a few months. We're on track now to almost double it. About a year.
What year was that?
Later. Say that again.
When was that? How long ago was that?
We bought it in April of 2022.
Okay.
So
you said you're on track to double it pretty soon. Okay.
So we put it on Google Maps, got it a bunch of 5-star ratings. We raised the prices immediately. We improved the customer experience. We improved the soaps. We improved the cycles on the automatic. When customers would give us feedback, we fixed stuff. We have guys on site that really help people get a good car wash. And now it's on track to double. We're going to do about $120K in profit in EBITDA on that unit, which means that if we could get the same cap rate, which means it's worth $1.2 million.
Yep.
And as we figured out that process, another car wash came for sale across town, and it happened to be the exact same builder. It was kind of a franchise model back in the late 90s, and the same company had built this other one. We bought that one. We're doing the exact same thing there.
Same price structure kind of thing.
Yeah. And so now we have 2 locations. So we're putting in a monthly unlimited wash program, like the big tunnel washes have, where you pay whatever you pay. Ours will be much cheaper. You pay $14 and you can get your car washed 10 times a day, every day if you want to. So we're modernizing these. We're improving the customer experience, right? It's basic business improvement, right? There's nothing.
And these are in Colorado?
They're both in Colorado. Yep.
Okay. Closer to where you live?
Yeah, both of them are about 15 minutes away from me. We're looking at one now that's about an hour away. But essentially, we're looking locally for the time being.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So what's it look like from like the staffing side of it? Do you have people on site, or is it kind of like just contractors on demand?
So we have somebody on staff pretty much 9 to 5 every day at these car washes. And we learned very quickly that they actually pay for themselves easily in helping people get the car wash they want. They'll actually wash people's cars sometimes. If somebody goes through the automatic and just doesn't like their wash, most car washes will get a 1-star review, and that person will never come back again. Hundreds of people will see that 1-star review. Our guys can walk over and say, well, come over to the self-serve. I'll give you a quick little spray down. It'll take care of this one spot. It's usually just 1 or 2 spots that they're kind of bent out of shape about. And instead, we get a 5-star review, and thousands of people will see that, and we've gained the business. So the staffing thing, and this is funny about real estate Twitter. Like, you're a businessman, you own these car shops.
Yep.
You're not afraid of employees. You know that they're revenue
200 of them. Yep.
Yeah, you have hundreds of them. And so when I tell real estate people that we have full-time employees, they're just like, oh, it's like they're going to faint. Like, what? How do you do it? Oh my gosh, how do you have employees? It's really not that big a deal. These people are great. We have a really unlimited supply of labor because we love the old duffers. We love the guys who are kind of semi-retired. They probably have a 401k or a pension from some sort of, they were a mechanic.
Looking for something to do.
Yeah, and they were bored and they needed a little cash. And this is a low stress job. They get to talk to people. They don't really have to work that hard. So we have an unlimited labor pool. We have no problem filling vacancies. And so they earn their salary back for us every day practically. So it works out great.
And do you have the big fancy like new car washes, the tunnels in there too?
No.
Like in your city, because it's a smaller market. It's like,
yeah, and our market does have the tunnels, and we may actually buy a tunnel in this next deal. But what's happening is the market is becoming bifurcated. So you've got these big the big express washes where you drive in, you get a membership.
I pay for. Yep.
You drive in, you got one. Okay, so then the conveyor belt moves you through, and 2 minutes later, you spits out a clean car. So there's a lot of people. First of all, there's a lot of people who hate those tunnel washes. They have gotten a scratch on their car at some point. My mom is one of these people. She got a scratch on her car in one of these places in like 2004.
Yep.
And she'll turn her eyes as she drives by now, right? She hates them.
Yeah. And
that happens every day. Those places scratch cars every day. And so we gain customers from them. And then there's a lot of people who can't just go, they cannot go through those washes. They have a roof rack, they have a tailgate rack, they have a contractor's truck, they have a customized pickup truck. The truck is too big, the truck is too small, whatever it is, they can't go, and they will never be able to go through a tunnel wash. Those tunnel washes aren't even targeting those customers. And so what happens, I have several friends in this business now who had a self-serve wash with a touchless automatic, just like we have, and a tunnel wash moved in right next door. And your instincts would be, oh my God, you're going out of business. You might as well sell your lot, tear the building down, right? Well, their business went up between 10 and 20%. And the reason is partially the car dealership effect, right? When somebody hears about a brand new car wash opening, they'll drive a longer distance than they normally would to check it out. And a lot of times they'll get kicked out of line because their car can't go through. Or if the other thing is, if your car is really, really dirty, they won't let you go through the tunnel because all those brushes, the brushes pick up the dirt and they leave it on the car behind them, or they scratch the car behind them. So if you have a truly dirty car, you can't go through a tunnel. So they get these self-serves and these touchless car washes get the overflow from that. And they get the people who can't go through the tunnel. So I don't see them as a threat so much. I think at some point the markets will definitely be saturated, but there will be people who will always go for a self-serve or always go for.
What's how much sales does it take to do 120K?
It's about a 50% margin. So we will do about
250-ish.
250 to 275 at that.
And what's an average car wash?
For the automatic, they're paying on average $8, and self-serve, I think the average ticket is like $325 or $350 or something. When we bought it, it was $2.
Okay. So you gotta do a lot of washes a day then, right?
You gotta do a lot of washes. So it's never going to be one location is we're actually looking at a location right now that is all self-serve and 2 automatics. They will probably crack $1 million a year in the next 5 years. But most of these locations do between 200 and 500.
Okay. And cool. Let's get into the tax side of it. So how do you get, what's the tax benefit for buying these things?
So what it is, and I honestly, Brian, I didn't know about this when I bought these places. Like I had heard about some of these tax loopholes, but it didn't really factor into my calculation. If you looked at my pro forma, I don't even mention it. Like the return on these places is great without this. So what happened was late December came around just last year. I email my accountant, as most business owners do, and say, okay, what's the damage? What do I owe? What is the hit going to be this year? Right. Well, normally it's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and I have to pull that money out of the companies and send the IRS this big check. Well, this year she says, you don't owe anything, and I think you're going to get your quarterly payments back. You're going to get a refund. In fact, I just got this refund. And I just, I kind of did the, like, what
the hell?
Yeah, what are you talking about? And I called her and she said, well, this bonus depreciation turns out on these car washes, like each location is going to have a $300,000 or $400,000 write-off because of this bonus depreciation. So what bonus depreciation is basically, I think it was like 2017 IRS and the Congress really is trying to generate investment. right? And trying to generate, especially in hard assets, buildings, equipment, that kind of stuff, is it stimulates the economy, right? So car washes, for whatever reason, qualified for this, and they're almost perfect for this law. And this is why you're seeing all these car washes being built. The building and the equipment qualifies for bonus depreciation, and it's an active business, so it offsets active income. If you go buy a self-storage facility right now, it will only offset your passive income, which if you're a W-2 person or if you just have a business, you don't have a lot of passive income, right? Unless you become a real estate professional, which is extremely difficult. You got to spend more than 50% of your time as a real estate professional. Then a self-storage facility won't do you any good. A car wash
or apartment building or anything else that are in, because it's a passive. You're not investing that much time.
Right.
Yep.
The IRS, now real estate people will argue, say real estate is not passive, and I agree with that. But the fact of the matter is the IRS views it as passive unless you're an agent or you're
it's a full time. Your business is real estate. It's all you do. But if you run a business, own a business like me and you do, we can't qualify.
You will have a very difficult time qualifying, and you can lie about it and all that stuff. But if you get
audit you,
right. This is just a business with a bunch of assets. The real estate is really just sort of in the background. It has a building and it has a bunch of equipment in it that is eligible for this depreciation. So the upshot was we made a bunch of money out of these car washes last year, but we had a $650,000 paper loss for the tax man. That nuked not only the taxes for the car washes, but for all my other businesses. I have a business partner on the supplement company, right? 50-50. He wrote a check for $215,000 to the IRS.
You got a check back.
Right? I got my money back.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I put about $215,000 into these car wash deals. I already have it back because I didn't have to pay that to the IRS.
Yeah.
And we're generating all this cash flow. We paid for the second car wash with a ton of the cash flow from the first. We have this flywheel. So it's very interesting, and I started posting about it on Twitter in January, and everything I did about car washes just caught fire. You know how Twitter is, like you'll put a lot of thought into this thread. Oh, there's all this great advice, and all this sage advice. This is really going to help a lot of people.
Shit. Yeah, you get 5K views.
You'll get like 5 likes and a couple retweets. The car wash stuff just caught fire, and I was like, well, I guess I'm the car wash guy. So that was the origin of that.
That's funny. Yeah. But then like you create this it's like treadwheel effect, right? Because now like you got all the depreciation, now it's used. And so next year, like 2022's tax bill or whatever, you're going to have a much smaller amount. So like you have to buy another one.
Yeah.
Or you're going to owe like all the taxes, all these taxes, and then you're going to every single year, right?
But what it does is, well, so that's the double-edged sword.
Yep.
Like I have this hunger now for more car washes, but if you can buy, our goal is to buy 2 every year or 3. Eventually we build this portfolio of 20, right? Now the cap rate on that, it used to be 10, 11, 12. If you have 20 locations, this is exactly what you're doing.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden the cap rate, the valuation on that, it goes from 10 to like 8 or 6. Or whatever that is. So this multiplication, and this is basically the private equity playbook, right? You pay one multiple here, and then you combine them all together, and then all of a sudden the multiple blows up, and you're making
plus you double the NOI, so you could potentially like 4x it between doubling the cash flow and then turning up the multiple that gets paid on it.
Then the money gets really, really interesting. I figured out if we only have 12 locations of this very similar crappy little car wash, if the multiple works out and all the cash flow keeps building and we can build up these NOIs like you just talked about, this is a $20 million enterprise at some point.
So if you got 12 of them and they're doing 125K each, you got 1.5 million, and divide it by a 7 cap rate. $21 million.
Yeah, now you're looking at 20 million. That's exactly the math. That's exactly it. So that's where things get really interesting. And then people say, well, then you're going to owe a bunch of taxes if you sell it. Well, if you can time it right, you could 1031 into some really interesting properties. You might have you might be walking away with $8-12 million in cash after you pay whatever you owe. You can 1031 into a very, very interesting property then, right?
So how much time a week are you spending on these?
For me and my partner, it's 5 hours each. Now, technically, I'm supposed to say 10 because it's supposed to be 500 hours a year to be active.
Yeah.
So it's definitely 10. But yeah, it's about an hour a day. Like we have breakfast every other week with all the car wash guys. Talk about the issues. Talk about new marketing plans we got coming up. Like we're doing this unlimited wash thing, so we'll be talking a lot about that. And then when I have a deal that I'm on the hunt, it'll be another 5 or 10 hours a week of due diligence and contracts and negotiations,
and all that stuff
like that.
And
but
how
it's pretty passive.
So you start to get spread out though, right? Like how many car washes are in your little area that you could buy that fit this crappy model?
There's about another. We live in a very small town where it's only 150,000 people in the whole county. So in our little region, there's probably another 20 that we could. Okay. But there's actually another company who are doing what we're doing, so we're kind of competing. They beat me on a deal earlier this year, so we got a little bit of competition. But eventually, I'm really looking at your model of franchising. I think what we could do is build a corporate portfolio of 10, 20, whatever it is. Build this model and then sell the franchises and sell them to W-2 earners who want a little side hustle that's going to nuke their tax bill, but they don't know. They're terrified to do it themselves, right? They don't. Yep. How do I do this? So we'll sell them a system. This is it. Do this now, then do this, hire this person to make it as passive as possible for these people, but so they still have these active write-offs. And that's kind of the model I'm looking at. And so I'll be asking you about that here before.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's totally possible. It's just, for you, for them, it's like finding the properties that make sense, right? Yeah. I think is probably the biggest challenge. Sometimes in franchise, they can go to like any strip center and put the thing in, or it's like a territory business. Mm-hmm. In this model, it's you got to find. I'm just thinking around me, because I like this idea and I pay a lot in taxes and like, man, I'd like to pay less. Yeah. I can think of like one or two, but we have a, it's more, it's a populous area, it's high income, right? There's tons of the like multi-million-dollar car washes that are built. But there's definitely the self-serve model, which probably, has a lot less maintenance, I'd imagine. I know some guys that own those things, and they said like those chains wear out, and it's like, it's a crazy amount of money to fix them when they break too.
Yes.
And I imagine your repair bill is probably significantly less as a percentage.
It's about 25% of the income for the year in just maintenance. Now, if you do a major upgrade, it'll be a lot more, obviously. But
so 25% for maintenance. What's payroll? 25.
Payroll is about another. Well, no, I'm sorry. The payroll would be about 25%. The maintenance would be 15 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, your payroll is about half your expenses. If you do it our way, anyway.
If you do it the right way. A lot of
people try to not to staff them and try to make it super passive. I think that's a mistake personally, but their P&Ls look different. But they'll always be lower, in my opinion, because.
But like you said, you doubled the profit. So like you have this expense, but then if you more than double the profit, it doesn't. It's an investment. And I think if you go through in that mindset, you're way better off than thinking it's just a line item expense, right?
Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. And they're they'll give away a car wash. Somebody's having a bad day or somebody didn't like their car wash. They'll give them a free wash. Yeah, those people will come back. It's $3 exactly, or it's $8. Or like our highest car wash is $10. Give them a free wash. They'll be a customer for life, right? Whereas if you treat it as super passive and you're pissing off half your customers because the stall's dirty or whatever, it's a very short-sighted mentality a lot of people have about it. So we take a different approach.
Awesome. Cool. I appreciate you coming on, sharing all your knowledge. You got an awesome system here, and I'm pretty impressive business on the supplement side you built.
Thanks, man.
Where can people connect with you?
With your accomplishments too, Brian. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah. Awesome. I think, thank you. It's been fun. I'm looking to continue to build. We got plans to start to build another franchise and another vertical and just continue to repeat the process. I think that's like, it's the benefit of owning a franchise, right? It's just rinse and repeat. It's all about execution. It's all about service, like you mentioned. And there's I like industries similar to car washes that have a ton of demand. There's like people are already spending money. You don't have to educate anybody. You don't have to teach anybody what it is. It's not some new crypto or cryotherapy cold plunge thing. Like it's just fixing cars, cleaning cars, painting houses, cleaning houses, like plumbing. Like it's gonna be around forever. And it's you show up, you do a good service, people are willing to pay a premium for it, and then you just rinse and repeat.
That's it. And if they're not happy, you give them your $3 back.
That's right. Yeah, we fix the car or whatever we got to do. Like it's not, nothing's not fixable. So
right.
Cool. So where can people connect and learn more about you? And I know you got like a website, and like give me the details.
Yeah. So I lay out this whole playbook at taxfreecashcow.com. Taxfreecashcow.com. I got so many requests for can I pick your brain requests that I created a course, and it's all there. All the contracts we use. How we hire, how we find the car washes, on-market, off-market deals. So it's everything need to know to find, buy, and operate your first car wash. Is taxfreecashcow.com. And then I put a lot of my content out for free on Twitter at Car Wash Guy. Just Google or search for Car Wash Guy on Twitter, and you'll see my face with the yellow background. Hard to miss. And a lot of it's there. Twitter has highlights now. If you go to my bio under highlights, I have a bunch of threads explaining what we do too. So connect with me and ask me questions. I love interacting with people who are interested in this stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'll check it out. I didn't know the highlights thing. So is that new?
Yeah. You should throw a bunch of stuff. So instead of doing pin tweets now, you can go to a tweet to the 3 little dots and you can say add to your highlights. So anything that
so you put all your
stuff there.
Top views. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, it was great chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll be in contact. I'm sure I'll have questions if we start trying to find some car washes to buy. So
yeah, sounds good, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kriss.
That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.